we're back again with another episode of this series. We'll be catching up with alumni of DHA Suffa University of the electrical department. Today, we'll be joined by Asad Ullah Ghauri from the 2016 batch. But before we go on to that, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Haya. I'm a certified life coach. I'm an alumnus of DHA Suffa University. I graduated in 2018. Since then, I have been working as an educational researcher. And so today we'll be joined by Asad Ullah Ghauri. Asad is currently working as an engineering project manager at Procter & Gamble. So let's just connect with him. Assalamu alaikum, Asad.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Asad?
I'm good as well.
Okay, so before we get into the questions, before I ask you anything, I want to know, how are you doing in this current time? How is work like? It's a very uncertain world right now. So tell us about how you're doing.
Well, actually, it's quite unfortunate the recent times that we're in, but we're managing well. Our company, we've been working from home for the past 2 months now. And the company has been really flexible in allowing us to work from our home, and we're keeping up with the daily work that we do. We're trying our best that there are no delays in anything, but it is of course a challenge. I'm sure everyone out there who's working from home, they feel it, that managing the life at home along with work, it's really hard. Because there are different expectations from your manager, from your reportees, and your family members. So it is a challenge, I would say. But I guess I'm coping up well.
So how do you manage and how do you manage work and family life? Do you stop work at 5 o'clock and be like, okay, this is home time now, or do you think that work kind of meshes up with home life as well?
Well, basically, I think the key here is to maintain your routine. So what I try my best to do is I wake up early in the morning, just like I used to do during my working days, and I start up with my breakfast at the right time, and because you do the first thing right, the rest of the day goes on its own. So so after breakfast, I open up my laptop and I look at my daily priorities. What are the things that I have to do? And then the additional thing that I have to do now is basically incorporate whatever priorities of my home are there as well. So I try my best that I keep a balance between both. But of course, since these are working hours and I'm working from home, I'm more inclined towards getting my official things done and only doing the most critical things that I need to do at home. So that is how I've been able to keep up.
Okay, I think now we're going to go and discuss and talk about your time at university. I never got a chance to actually work with you or be around you, but आपका नाम सुनने को बहुत मिलता था. Asad Bhai was a big thing, and people in my batch especially looked up to you a lot. And I think you were part of ISEC, and you were chairman of IEEE DHA Suffa की branch जो थी. So okay, so let's start with, what are your fondest memories of university? Like, what do you remember the most?
University, I guess DHA Suffa University was all about opportunities. I was in the pioneer batch, and I remember even the first day when there were only 3 classes and no students at all. And the university was completely empty. So it was a place filled with opportunities. You could do anything you want. You could create societies. You could lead them. You could work on certain projects with teachers. You could do anything. So Suffa, I believe, was a place of opportunities, and I am a product of Suffa, and I would say that it is because of these opportunities that I've been able to groom myself over the 4 years. I have learned how to speak, how to communicate, how to deal, how to manage things, how to manage projects, and all of that. The most fondest memory, I would say, would be my 1 year of being the chairperson of IEEE student branch, because that was something when I had the authority. I was a senior. I had my team members who were my pillars, who kept me up. And I really learned how things are done. How do we go into funding reviews with the Vice Chancellor? How do we propose new ideas, and how do we convince people? and most important, interacting with juniors, seeing their passion, coaching them, all of that. So
Yeah.
IEEE student branch was throughout my tenure as a chairperson. That was the most fondest memory that I have of that place.
So how did you manage, having your extracurricular activities with your education? Because as we know, it's not easy. Engineering की पढ़ाई काफी मुश्किल होती है, and you need to spend a lot of time doing that. So how were you managing that? And another thing, how did you? I think my first question would be, okay, at that age, how did you know that you wanted to do both of those things? Some people come into university and just focus on their education and stay, get their technical education basically. How did you know that you wanted to do both of those things?
Well, to be really honest, it was because of Suffa. I was able to realize that there was a vacuum, right? There were no societies and everything. And once I got into the societies, I started with Iron Society that most people wouldn't even have heard of, and we used to do small seminars, and I realized how much of a big impact it has on my personality, how I manage events, and how much it is growing me. So I realized that getting into societies, doing some extracurricular work, which is apart from the basic expectation, which is studying, it would definitely make me stand apart from the crowd later on when I
Yeah.
graduate and I see my peers from other universities. So so that is why I try to put a good amount of dedicated effort into grooming myself, being involved in extracurricular activities, joining ISEC, IEEE, managing all those things. And I would call out that yes, I had to put in some extra hours, but I realized that if I don't put those extra hours, I will not have an edge over the others. So that is why I convinced myself that yes, I'm putting in the hard hours right now, but they will bear fruits later on, and alhamdulillah they did.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you know that, at that age when you come into university, it's a very hard transition, from doing your O levels or A levels or FSC, and then you come into university. The first semester is a very hard shift and you don't understand. So did you take off right from the beginning, or did you have to, did you struggle in the beginning and then did you finally catch on?
Well, frankly, it took me the first semester to understand how the university works, how the semester system goes on, what are the
Mm-hmm.
hourlies, how do they count up to the end. But it's all about visualizing, right? If you know how much of a thing has an impact later on your life, you take it
Yeah.
seriously. So right from the first semester, I tried my best to do the best that I can do in my curriculum.
Yeah.
I made sure that I do all the assignments on time. I get good grades, and eventually they would combine together and resultantly give result in a good GPA, I would say. So
Yeah.
having a good GPA along with some extracurricular activities, I believe was my target from the start.
Yeah. So what was your mindset like back in university? What were you looking forward to? And, because I think in university, there's a lot of confusion between, कि हमें क्या करना चाहिए. Did you look up to people? Did you have professors guiding you as what you need to be focusing on more?
Yeah, so Sir Salman, who's the current HOD, he was right there from the start, I remember. And then we also had Dr. Asim Wagan. And in our
Yeah.
first semester, me and three of my friends, we used to go into the office. We used to discuss what are the different projects that we can do, what are the emerging technologies that we can work on. And they used to guide us a lot. And it is from there we got that spark as well, that there is a good technical aspect to this engineering as well, in which we can contribute, we can do projects, we can make an impact. And that actually motivated us, and we ended up doing really good projects in Safa as well.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you had this, energy to initiate. People sometimes do not initiate. Like even just going to the teachers office, you know, like that is something, you know, like going to them, asking them questions, because teachers available hote hain. It's your initiation कि आप जाकर उनसे बात करें, or whether that was about your societies, you know, you had that spark. And I think most probably that is why you're doing so well, mashallah, with your career as well. So that is probably the key to your success, that you sort of had that passion to do more. So where does that come from? Where do you think that comes from?
I believe initiation, yes, that is a key aspect, which if anyone who wants to succeed needs to have that energy in them to initiate. Uh, we call this, opening. उर्दू में कहते हैं कुंडी खोलना. So you know there are things आप उसे खोलें and then something comes at you and then you react and you take actions on that. So जब तक आप वो जाके खटखटाएंगे नहीं, you do not go into that room, discuss with your teachers, you will not get to know about opportunities. If you don't go onto the internet, you do not search, you do not take things, you will not get any idea what you have to do. So in life, you really need to make sure that you're taking initiatives in the direction that you want to go into. So if you know that, yes, I want to end up there, then you need to have a fine glide path to reach that. And for me, that was very clear from the first semester what I tried to do.
Yeah. So now, having transitioned into a new job, and like obviously new to nahi, you've been working at it for 3 or 4 years. If you could go back to that age again, or if you were talking to younger students, what would you, give them as an advice? What would you say? Okay, what should they be focusing on, or what do you think you should have done more of at that age?
Again, I would give, so for the juniors that are out there, I would tell them that their core is, of course, the curriculum that they're studying, which is very important. Unless they have a strong grip on it, they cannot succeed in the professional world. But there is a much bigger aspect to the outside world as well, which is your extracurricular activities, your soft skills. Unless you're a good communicator, no matter how good you are technically, you can never present your idea. You can never do the elevator pitch to get a funding. You can never ace an interview. So if you get into societies, you get these opportunities of speaking in front of people, proposing your idea to the vice chancellor, the HODs. You get to sit with adults. You get to hear from them. You start creating your own ideas in your mind. And that is how a person would actually groom themselves up throughout the university life, and that is how one would grow.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about the societies you're a part of? Can you tell us what IEEE stands for and what work it does?
Yes. So Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, it's a professional society for electrical engineers, and it is around the globe. I was the chairperson of a student branch, which was DHA Suffa University, and this is part of IEEE Karachi section. And then this IEEE Karachi section is linked with the world through a region. So there are different regions, and that is how the whole of IEEE society is connected. And this was an international platform which I got, and I tried my best to avail what I got out of it and how I could groom myself. Another life changer for me was ISEC. ISEC is the world's largest youth-run organization, which is creating a global impact by giving students exchange, I would say, cultural exchange opportunities or student exchange programs. And over there, I actually got the feeling of how the culture that I used to see in ISEC, I see that in the company I'm working right now, which is Procter & Gamble. So I could really relate. Whatever I used to do in ISEC, I used to get the same feeling that I'm doing in P&G. And so I was in ISEC before IEEE. And once I got into IEEE, I tried to bring the same culture into IEEE. I tried to have that open culture, how people would have to present, they would build their skills, they would convince others, they would act in a professional manner, and that is exactly how I was able to grow myself through the societies. And I mentioned Iron Society as well. So in my first semester, I with my friends, we started this society, and we used to conduct some small seminars, and that is how it all started. And then
Yes.
graduating as the chairperson of IEEE, I think it really made a mark on my CV as well as my personality.
So it was a combination of working hard, basically, and taking initiatives, being part of different societies and extracurricular activities, and basically not closing any door for yourself, doing everything that you could do at that point. Then you went on, so university ended. Can you tell me
Just a
what
second, can
that
we?
phase? Okay. So, okay, having transitioned into the new job, but first, before I get into Procter and Gamble and your new job, can you please tell me a little bit about that transition from university to work? How long did that take? Did you get a job right out of university, or was there a period where you didn't get it?
So basically, I would call myself fortunate that during my last semester, I gave my tests or assessment test for Procter and Gamble, and before my graduation, I had an offer from them in place. So right after, so as far as I can recall, on 29th of December 2016, I had my last exam, and on 2nd of February, I was in Procter and Gamble. Sorry,
Wow,
2nd of
that's great.
January. 2nd of January, yes. So right after
So,
29th
so
of
there
December.
was no time in between where you got a chance to be at home and just relax. You just had to
Yes,
start work. So
yes, it
tell
was
me,
definitely like that. And even the last semester exams, I was quite I would say relaxed because
yeah,
you already have a job, right? So
yeah.
yeah, it was like that.
Was it as you imagined it to be? Was work like you imagined it to be, or was it completely different?
It was completely different.
Okay.
In short, yes, because
Now explain that.
yeah. So basically, again, a person's expectation is yes, once they get into work, they'll have this sort of a comfort zone where they're working 9 to 5 and they're getting money and life goes on. But
Yeah.
working at P&G, it is a lot different, I would say, because from the first day you get responsibilities on your shoulders and you really have to deliver those results. And I started with an internship of 2 months, which is the normal P&G's hiring process. And
Yeah.
in that internship, I had a certain goals that I actually had to implement, and not just formulate. I actually had to implement them within the 2 months, and and those were challenging goals. And I really had to work late hours. I used to go to the office. I used to wake up at 6 because I had to be in office at 8, and I used to come back by 6, but then I used to be on my working table till like 11 or 12 at night, non-stop, because I knew I had to give it my best, because that is all what it is about, right? You have to give your best in everything that you do. So
Yeah.
P&G, frankly, it was very tough in the start, but you see, the more pressure you get, the more you learn, the earlier the growth is. And I would say that the reason why a person learns so much so quickly in P&G is because of the amount of work that they get and the responsibilities right from the first day. So it was very different. It was very tough, but I would say it was worth it because now I can look back and I can see that all the hard work that I put in has really resulted, and I can see the fruits of it.
So how many years have you been working in Procter and Gamble now?
Uh,
That's
well,
3 years,
to
right?
count, I would say it's 3 years and a few months.
3 years and a
Yes.
few months. What is your current job? What is your current position, and what are you working on these days?
I'm basically an engineering project manager, which I joined this role right after my internship. And my role is basically to bring initiatives onto the production line, to eliminate losses and to do projects of improvement, loss elimination, automation, and such projects to make the operations more productive. So that is how I would summarize it up. Now projects themselves, it is a whole different role, right? So you have to take care of your scope, you have to engage vendors, you have to manage them well, you have to take your key customers in confidence, you have to commit on your schedule of the project, you have to commit on the cost, you have to commit on the quality, you have to commit on the safety, and all of that. So that is currently what I'm doing.
So you have a basic engineering, electrical engineering degree. And I think a lot of people don't realize that once you get into the job, you also have to do a lot of other things that aren't engineering related, you know. So learning doesn't stop at university, learning continues after university ends, basically. Can you tell us about, you know, how have you learned everything? Have you learned it on your work, or did you take in extra hours where you studied and did the work?
Definitely the extra hours,
Yeah.
because in a professional environment you don't have a teacher, you have a manager,
Yeah.
right? And although there is, of course, there is life coaching where they're coaching you, but at the same time you're expected to learn things on your own. You're expected to initiate things. You're expected to, even if I have an electrical engineering degree, I'm expected to know mechanical things as well, civil things as well, because those are
Yeah.
mainly related to projects. So I had to put in the extra hours after university to gain that skill set, uh,
Mm.
because if I don't have that skill set, then I cannot grow further. And that is not just in PNG, but that is how any career goes. As your time goes on, you need to keep on building your capability so that you can move to the next level.
Yeah. How, if you were to give advice to people who are either starting their jobs or are struggling in their jobs, how can they excel at whatever task that they're given with and whatever job that they're in? You know, how can they excel? How can they stand out from their peers?
Basically, I would say that to excel from the peers, you really need to have a holistic view of whatever is happening around, right? You really need to calibrate yourself with what your peers are doing. How much responsibilities do they have? How much do you have? It might be that someone is doing has too many responsibilities and they're delivering all the results, and you are in your comfort zone and you're doing only what you're being asked to do. In that case, you will not excel the peers. You need to be sure that whatever you're delivering, whatever you're doing, it is more than your peers, and you're supposed to create that visibility as well in the leadership. If you don't
Yeah.
create that visibility and you just keep on delivering your roles, you will get there, but you will get there slow. So you have to be smart about it. You
Yeah.
need to make sure that whatever you do, you communicate it properly. And that is the reason I have been saying that soft skills, they really matter. How you interact with people, how emotionally intelligent you are. During a one-to-one interaction with my manager, if I don't say the right words, if I don't portray the right message, and which is of course the correct message, if I don't portray that, then it creates a negative bias in the manager's mind for me, because that is how that we're all humans at the end. So you really
Yeah.
need to work on your social skills, your interpersonal skills, and at the end, technical mastery is the core of it all. So if you have that technical mastery and you have soft skills, I believe you can easily overcome your peers.
Something that I really liked about what you said is because actually I'm also a life coach, and being emotionally intelligent, you know, that's something that not everyone knows what that means. Can you please explain it further, what emotionally intelligent would mean if you're an
Basically,
emotionally
emotional intelligence is how well you understand a situation emotionally, right? How do you look at it? When you're in a meeting and you see that the situation is already heated up, you have to be smart enough not to bring in a new idea right there and then, because you know it will get killed right away. So you need to be
yeah.
smart. You need to plan whatever you have. You have to pitch it the first time and at the right time. So you need to rehearse upfront. You need to be sure whatever you're going to say, it has the impact and it is being said at the right time.
Yeah.
And that is all what emotional intelligence is about. You need to read the situation, then choose your words accordingly, and deliver the right message in a tone that is acceptable to the leadership that is there to give an approval of, or to get their concurrence on it.
Yeah. So you've mentioned communication skills, you mentioned emotional intelligence, you've also mentioned, confidence. So how did your time at university help you gain all of these? And if you were to line some things for the younger generation who's going to follow, what should they be doing at university, and how will that help in their jobs?
Basically, during university life, it is a place where you can make mistakes without any hard repercussions. So
Yeah.
that is a place where you will not have that sort of an accountability. You're still a student. You will not your decisions won't result into a big loss to the company or the university itself. So that is
Yeah.
an experimentation ground. And my advice to the younger students would be, start experimenting from day one. I mean, I used to have my fellow students who used to say, yes, we'll get into the final year, then we'll think about our final year project, and then we will do all of that. But it's not like that. You have to start it from day one. You have to really see where do you want to end up, and you have to start planning your way through it. If you don't plan it, you will not get there.
Yeah.
So regarding emotional intelligence, and coming back to Suffa, I still remember being the chairperson of IEEE. I used to have many different ideas of conducting seminars, having a competition, and all of that. And I used to, and how I learned is that whenever, again, exactly the same thing, you have to pitch the right thing at the right time. So during our funding meetings with the vice chancellor or the HOD, we used to make sure that we're saying the right words, how it brings benefit to DHA Suffa University itself, and how do we create a win-win situation for the IEEE student branch, university, as well as the students. So
Yeah.
this is exactly how I learned my way through it. Many of my proposals used to get rejected in the start, but then we learned it slowly and we started progressing.
And I think, yes, managing a team and being a chairperson, you have a team, and that is where you need to be emotionally intelligent. Every team member is different. Every team, they require different sorts of motivation. And, when you're managing a team, I think that is when you actually learn how to be emotionally intelligent. Um, so,
True.
Asad, right now we are in a very unprecedented time, right? And life is changing. How are you staying up to date with whatever is happening around you, and how do you think life is going to change from this point onwards?
Basically, again, according to me, from what I've been seeing, life is definitely changing. You can see the schools are closed, people are working from their homes, and a lot of digitization things are coming up. How can meetings be conducted without actually meeting in person? So I believe there will be an uptrend into software houses. There will be more of software things which people can do from their home. There will be more digitization. How corporate employees can make their life more flexible. So applications like Zoom, we've already seen how its overall value has gone up multifold during this period. So I believe eventually in Pakistan as well, we will shift to online classes for students, which is already happening. But this looks to me like a permanent setup. And with this, there will be some joblessness in the country. At the same time, there will be a boom in certain industries, such as the software industry.
Yeah.
That is how I see overall how this pandemic is going to change, at least Pakistan and the overall globe.
Okay, so like you mentioned that joblessness, and there are people losing their jobs currently, or were either trying to get jobs but the jobs aren't there right now. How can they use this time when they're at home? How can they use it to be fruitful for them? What do you think they should be investing their time in right now?
Right, very good point. So coming back to digitization, and now to learn anything, you do not have to enroll into a class that you have to go and you have to attend and then take the credit hours. You can go online and get free courses from Coursera, EDX, Udemy. There are so many good courses that are out there. And the best part about it is that whatever you're passionate about, you will get a course for that. Maybe it might cost something, but it is always good to invest in your own capability.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, people are I mean people are supposed to keep some money for their own growth as well. And the best way students as well as adults can use this time who are jobless is to enroll into courses online, see where the trend is shifting, get into AI, get into programming, learn how to freelance from work for whatever skill set that they have. And that is exactly how they can make utilization they can utilize this time in a good manner, and they can come out of this pandemic way stronger than what they initially were.
Yes. Um, and can you, like you mentioned, a few technical skills that people can, work on. Are there any soft skills that people should be working on right now? And how can you learn soft skills when you are at home alone? Is there a way, what can you do?
Well, for soft skills, I believe a mirror is your best partner. You just have to
Yeah.
stand in front of the mirror and you just need to say those words that you intend to say in the final presentation or whatever, wherever you're going to say that. So you just have to stand in front of the mirror and practice a little. But that's
Yeah.
not it. There are dedicated courses that give you the tips of where to keep your hands when you're speaking, how to take care of your body language. So if I just sit right now and I sit and I don't move my hands and I don't do anything, it might get boring for the interviewer. It might get boring for the viewers. Similarly, if you're in a
Yeah.
presentation where you're keeping your hands folded, where you're not open, where you're not giving that open posture, people will not come to you for questions. So all of these things, your overall body language, these things can be learned from online courses, and that is out there. So soft skills, they can definitely be learned, they can be acquired. uh, uh, they're not naturally in a person. Some people are god gifted, but they can easily be acquired if one puts dedicated time in it. And from my career so far in Procter and Gamble, I can say that soft skills, they really matter, and they create the difference between any two candidates that are out there, even if they're technically even if their technical capability is the same.
Yes. So basically, there's a huge emphasis on learning, right? No matter
Yes.
wherever you get time, whether that you're working or you're not working, wherever you get time, I think people should be investing in themselves, getting skills that will just basically add on. Some skills do not get on your CV. Like soft skills will never get on your CV, but when you're there in the actual interview or when you're presenting something, they do finally show up. So what advice would you give to people who are interested in getting into companies like Procter and Gamble or multinational companies? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I would give them advice from my own personal experience, which was with Procter and Gamble. I mean, by that I mean that during my university time, I was the chairman of IEEE, and I faced certain situations during my university life where I had to take decisions from which I learned when I took incorrect decisions, and I actually went through when I took right decisions. And that is how I learned how a person takes decisions, how what are the repercussions of taking wrong decisions. So throughout my interview with P&G, I could actually give them real life examples of what I had done during my university. And they could, an interviewer, they can read your face, right? So if you're faking it, they would get to know that, yes, that is just a made up story. But in my
Yeah.
case, whatever they asked, whatever situation they put me in, I had almost faced that situation during my university life. So for students who are out there who are looking to work into MNCs, I would say that that those people, they really need to work and get the idea of how societies work, how are fundings done, how are events managed, how do you get funding approvals, how do you end up executing the event within the timeline that you specified, and what do you learn out of it if you make mistakes. And once you have this core experience, you put it on your CV, you get selected for an interview in a multinational company. And during the interview, you would have so much experience that the interviewer would actually feel that yes, this is a keeper. This is a guy who takes
Yeah.
decisions. This is a guy who has who has already had some experience of management. So I believe MNCs, they really look for these things in a certain individual.
So, Asad, what's next for you? What are you aiming for next?
Currently, I'm in Procter and Gamble, and Alhamdulillah, I'm having a good career here, and I see growth opportunities within P&G. So currently, I'm looking. Right now, I see myself in P&G for the next couple of years, because I really like the culture over here. It is a very open culture. Things are on merit. It has very good policies, work from home policies, and all of that. And during the pandemic, I've seen how the company has facilitated all of its employees, how they've taken care of all the personal needs of people. uh, and uh, uh, and to be honest, I've been talking with my colleagues as well, not colleagues, so my university mates. And so far I haven't seen any company that I can match the level of flexibility that I get in PNG. And the best part about PNG is respect. The level of respect that you get at PNG from day one is uncomparable with any other organization that is out there. So
Mhm.
I see myself working in Procter and Gamble and exceeding over here.
On a lighter note, do you still miss university? Because us time pe life is there's so much less responsibility, and I think we don't realize it when we're in university that this is perhaps the best time of our life. So do you stay connected with your friends? How is that?
Of course. I really missed university days. I mean, those are the days where there was fun combined with learning, and
Yeah.
there was so much to do, sports and all of that. So yes, of course, I miss those days. But me and a couple of my friends, we've made sure that we still hang out on a weekly basis, just to recall the
Yeah.
memories, see how each one of us is doing in their careers, coach each other, how they can pursue further, how they can pursue their careers further. So we make sure that we connect regularly, and that
Yeah.
is how we've been keeping up with old friends, and that is how it's going on.
Yeah. Well, we're very proud of you. I think we were proud of you back then in university as well. Like I said, in my batch, we used to speak about you a lot because you were doing a lot back then. And it's great to see that you're still doing great. And I think whoever is going to listen to you is going to be very proud of what you've achieved. So, congratulations, good luck, and also stay well. And I wish that you and your family stay healthy during this very unprecedented time. So thank you for joining us today, and inshallah we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, DHA Suffa University, for this platform. And I hope the younger students that are out there, they get the right message out of this, and they excel as well as in their careers. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, bye bye.